Looky there, we made it through an entire intro video without Piers Austin sneezing, coughing, burping, farting, whatever the case may be. And we made it through a pretty decent intro, so let's just keep it going, guys. Welcome to episode 29 of Wrestling with Tragedy. I am joined, as always, with my fearless partner, the king of the streets, Angel Medina himself, with that ugly orange cup, and Piers Austin.
Guys, hey, come on, man. I got to get better than that.
We're going to be covering a topic that is, let's be honest, it's a pretty big thing in the world today as far as racism goes, and insensitivity, and just overall not being a trash human being. Would you guys agree?
Oh yeah, dude. This one's going to be like. There's so much you have to say on this, Kevin. And I know you do, and you know what? I've got a lot to say as well, and I'm sure Angel does. So yeah, this is going to be one hell of a show.
We're not going to be pulling any punches in this one, but let's go ahead and try to pay some bills before we get into it. I want to thank all of our amazing sponsors for making this show happen each and every week, starting with the man himself, Vince Russo, and the Vince Russo brand, along with special shout out to Stevie Richards and Ben Hameen. Thank you for all the faith you guys have in us. Thank you for putting us on the channel and really helping us getting our foot in the door with this professional podcast gig that we're really trying to make happen. So thank you to Vince Russo, Stevie Richards, and Ben Hameen. If you guys are not watching on the Vince Russo brand, make sure you jump over there and check out some of the other amazing content that they have and that they offer for all their viewers, and let them know that Wrestling with Tragedy comes with a very loyal fan base. Next up, we have A-Rock Designs. A-Rock Designs is a custom business that makes all those cool wrestling cups you see floating around. She makes wrestling-related, non-wrestling-related cups, t-shirts, hats, hoodies. It does not matter, guys, like that cup that Piers Austin has right there. If you want to get your hands on any custom merchandise, go to A-Rock Designs on Facebook, spelled that way at the bottom of the screen, and place your orders with Ashley Rodriguez. And if you're having trouble finding it, reach out to one of us and we could point you in the right direction. Boys, you want to take this one?
Championship belts. If you want a championship belt, head over to WASIF Championship Belts. That's right, it's WASIF Championship Belts. They do the best custom championship belts, the best replica championship belts with very special payment plans. So head over and check out WASIF Championship Belts and get yours today.
And that's why Piers Austin will never be a voice actor. Getting into our last one, guys, we now have our own merch line set up for you guys. So if you want to get your hands on that Wrestling with Tragedy merch, you're going to go to storefrontier.com, search Wrestling with Tragedy. You'll see two shirts pop up. We have our Allegedly shirt and our Hard Time shirt. More merch is coming, guys. And those two shirts are available in a variety of different colors. Long sleeve, short sleeve, kids shirts, women's shirts, face masks, hoodies, and all that other good stuff. So pick a garment, pick a color, and rep that Wrestling with Tragedy merch. With that being said,
we even have onesies. And Pierce, if you stand up and show the fans what you're wearing,
fuck off. But you know what, guys? We have to also mention this, okay? Wrestling with Tragedy is now on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So, guys, you know, our content is hitting new audiences. It's going out to many different people from around the world. So if you're hearing this, wherever you are listening, however you are listening, thank you for listening and checking this out.
Absolutely. And if you like that music that we had in our intro video, big shout out to the Cicadas band for giving us that copyright-free music that allows us to promote and look professional. You guys did us a huge favor. Piers, let them know where they can get in contact with people like that if they need to get any music made for themselves.
Well, if you need to get any music made at all, you need to head over to Signal Studios here in Sydney, Australia. They are a very professional recording studio. If you're an independent professional wrestler, you love this podcast. Well, let's face it, everyone loves this podcast. But if you need some new entrance music, you can hit up Signal Studios. They can create, mix, master, and send that out to you wherever you are in the world. Or if you just in Australia, in Sydney, you're a musician, you need a place to jam, you need a place to record something, hit up Raf. He'll be able to provide you with the most comfortable space to get your creative juices flowing.
What's his never name? Do that again.
What's his name? Raf?
Raf.
Riff?
Fuck off, idiot.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get into it because we have a lot to break down in this one. We have a lot to cover in this
Now,
one.
Kevin, before we go getting started, man, I don't even know I could defend. Usually I have a good defense on any type of topic we have, but this is going to be real difficult for me to even state a case. Just letting you know.
I think a lot of people that watch this show like the back and forth banter. Small disclaimer: there's probably going to be a lot of agreeing in this episode, and not so much back and forth. Because let's face it, he's a trash human being. Guys, we're going to be talking about Lars Sullivan today. Lars Sullivan recently made his return to WWE, and the thing about Wrestling with Tragedy, guys, is it's a pre-recorded podcast. We recorded a few episodes at a time. When we got done recording our last set, all of this happened. And we strongly debated on doing a special live episode just to get on top of this stuff while it was fresh in everybody's mind and let you know just how big of a piece of shit this guy is. So, Lars Sullivan's actions started before he was even in WWE. Did you know that?
Yeah. The adult entertainment business.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, even before that shit
Yeah.
came out.
So, he took to the message boards of a page called bodybuilder.com. And he went underneath a fake name. Well, not a fake name. He went under his real name and then later on a kayfabe name. But he was posting stuff that's just not okay. He was posting racial comments against both African Americans and Mexicans and pretty much anything in between, saying that Mexicans think that land of the free means that they get free shit. They don't want to work for anything. They're coming to take all of our stuff and da 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 da. We've heard it all before. He made comments like Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston would look really good in prison jumpsuits. And he even targeted people who suffer from mental health. Ironically, he even targeted people who have anxiety attacks. Do you guys remember why Lars Sullivan didn't make his debut against John Cena leading into WrestleMania 35?
Panic
No.
attack.
He had a panic attack and left the building. But yet he said panic attacks are a sign of weakness. This man is an absolute trash human being. It doesn't matter if it's now in the way things are in the world right now. Racism is a very big issue, a very big topic going on right now. So this could not have come out at a worse possible time for Lars. I mean, there's no good time for this stuff to come out either. But there's a difference in having a strong opinion and just overall being racist as fuck.
No.
Dude, the thing is with him, he made a lot of comments. And one of the interesting ones was when he made homophobic slurs, and then later on came out to be in 2 gay pornos. Like,
But it
isn't
could be
it
like,
ironic?
but it's almost like reverse discrimination, where a black guy hates his kind because of who they are. Like, oh, you're just a ghetto street kid. But I'm just thinking, like, he probably made those statements because behind closed doors,
He's fighting his own insecurities.
yeah.
Not
Yeah.
an excuse.
No, that's
mean,
what I'm just saying. That's what
Yeah,
I think
I
he's
know.
doing.
Like, I agree what you're saying. It's definitely not an excuse. The racial slurs. I think, in Australia we're a pretty multicultural country, so like there's not a great deal of racism that we see, and I don't know if that's a big thing over in the US, where obviously from seeing what's happening in the world, or happened in the world in this year alone. Is racism like still a very big thing over there? Like, is it still like so in your face?
It's always been an issue. It's become a more talked about, a more
I think due to social
in-your-face
media,
issue. Yeah.
because of that. I mean, racism has always been around forever. I mean, I never came across it as far as my experience. A little here, a little there, but nothing crazy. But since social media has been bringing it up into the forefront, it's
The
more.
problem with social media is the problem with social media, and this is going to be a little off topic, but just because Piers asked, one of the reasons it's such a big issue right now is, especially on social media, and Angel, I'm sure you would agree, you will have a video that is this long, somebody will trim it down to that much and post it. And the difference between a video being this long and this long are two completely different videos. You don't see what happened before or after. You just see the one part everybody wants you to see. And that's one of the biggest issues we have. Now, is there racism in America? Absolutely. Without a doubt.
And that's funny. That's what the, you know, I know going off topic, but the Johnny Depp case where she filmed, there was like a big old video, but she TMZ trimmed it down to make him look like he was batshit crazy and abusive. But when you watch the whole video, he was just upset because he lost all that money with his attorneys, and she used it saying that he was being abusive and throwing things around and making her scared. And she laughed at the end of the video when they found the actual full video of it. So yeah, man, you can make whatever you want, you know.
Yeah,
from the video.
So getting back on topic with Lars, so WWE made him take sensitivity training. They gave him time off and all this other stuff, and that's when we seen after the completion of the sensitivity training. Now he's being featured in the draft. He is being pushed in matches, like nothing ever happened. Now, you take a guy like Sammy Guevara. We all know what he said. We all know what he did. Sammy Guevara takes to his vlog, which is a very popular vlog, very popular vlog, huge audience, and he makes, it wasn't a long video, it was like a minute and a half maybe, where he is apologizing to the fans, to Sasha. He says, you know, me back in 2016 is not me now in 2020. I would never say those things again, and he really made me feel that he had remorse for what he had said. He said that he was going to go take some sensitivity training and make himself better. Lars is just going through the motions to keep his fucking job. Let's call it what it is. He hasn't changed. He's the same fucking person. In a company where we see people like Velveteen Dream still have a job, what is it going to take for WWE to start cracking down on these fucking people?
But this is the funny thing, is just back in the days when you used to do stuff like that, I mean, you used to be let go. I mean, there was consequences for your actions back in the 90s because you always got heat and you was always scared to get heat. These guys nowadays be getting heat and they now held accountable for their actions. I mean, they used to have morals clauses, you know, in the contract that if you did anything wrong, you got kicked out the door. I mean,
actions detriment to the company.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I hate going off topic, the Chastity situation with when she went to WCW. The only reason she got let go is because she was on a porn called Live Bait, and they found that out. And of course, I was the one that found it, but that's a different story. I'll tell you guys that story later. But she got let go, and that was under her morals clause. So you used to get let go for anything, look for any reason to let you go. And I just think they've been giving these guys too many chances, and it's just like a kid not getting punished. My dad ain't gonna do nothing. He just talks a good game, but he just talks shit. That's how I see it.
But bro, like, do you remember? Like, I think it was back in like 2010, maybe prior to that, they fired Daniel Bryan in a situation where he choked and spat. Like, agreeing spitting on people is fucking disgusting, and maybe he overdid it. Did he deserve to get fucking released? But granted, they brought him back like less than a month later. But this guy,
they brought him back because people petitioned saying they wanted him back because he choked them with the tie, and I didn't see anything wrong. They were working the next angle.
Exactly.
Well, the problem is, Angel, like you were saying, back in the day, you'd get released for anything. Yeah. Back in the day, it was a straight line. If you're on this side of the line, you have a job. If you're on this side of the line, you're getting let go. Now we see that line just snaking all over the place, like this is okay, but this isn't. This is okay for this person. This is not okay for this person. And Lars targeted a lot of people. One of the people that he targeted that we haven't talked about yet, Jeff Hardy, called Jeff Hardy a useless, untalented junkie. Now, we've recently released an episode on Wrestling with Tragedy about Jeff Hardy. If you haven't seen it yet, I strongly encourage that you do so. But let's talk about this for a second. You have a guy who the closest thing he's ever been to a big push was in the first ever North American ladder match. He was one of 6 competitors in that ladder match. Ironically, so is Velveteen Dream. But that's the closest he's been to like a main event title push kind of thing. And there's no doubt in my mind they're going to put a belt on him sooner or later, which is a huge fucking mistake. But you were calling a man like Jeff Hardy talentless. Now, I can agree with the junkie part. He's proven that himself. Has he taken steps to get better? Yes. Has he tried? Has he shown us that he can be a decent person as far as Jeff Hardy? Absolutely. But does he still have his relapses? Does he still struggle with his demons every fucking day? Just like all of us. But to call Jeff Hardy untalented. Jeff Hardy has been a world champion in 3 different companies that I know of. 3 major companies. You can't hold Jeff Hardy's jockstrap, but you want to go on this bodybuilder site or whatever under a fake name because you're too much of a fucking coward to make your statements known by yourself. And that's another thing. To hide behind a fake name, the motherfucker knew he was doing some shit wrong.
Yep.
It's all his insecurity, man. It's his insecurity.
But if you have to sit here and hide behind one thing that the 3 of us have in common, we stand by our convictions. If we say something, we want you to know we said it. This is how we feel. This is what we believe. If you have to hide behind a fake name, you know you're full of shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, this guy, he targeted a lot of people. He made racial comments. He made homophobic comments. He made comments against people with mental illness. He basically tried to go, who can I fuck up the most? And guys, let's be real. The comments that you find in YouTube videos and even today on you look at Facebook comments as well from some people on certain posts, it's like the cesspool of toxicity just finds itself there. And that is where he is. He's one of these fucking toxic little internet fucking trolls who mouse off, says all this shit. But then, guys, look, one thing I want to mention, and it's, if he's gay, that's fine. That's great for him. And I hope that he's happy in his life or whatever it is that he does or decides to do. He did a adult film. How can WWE keep him on the roster when they stated many times before that they would never be able to induct China into the WWE Hall of Fame by herself because young girls would Google China's name and the first thing that would pop up would be a porno?
Really? Hold on.
But is that going to be the same fucking shit for Lars? Like, come on, man.
But that's the thing. I mean, and I hate saying this, but it's just they're being hypocrites because they keep. I don't see the talent in Lars. I mean, he looks like Nails from back in the days. He does. I don't see any talent in him. I'm not trying to bury the guy because we're doing the show, and I just don't see it as a professional wrestler that he has any type of talent to even keep him on the roster. To say, oh, we have to keep him, man. This is our bread and butter. He is going to be our main eventer. I just don't see it. I don't know why they keep giving these guys these chances, and then they spit in their back to the officer's face, and then they just get slapped on the wrist. And I don't even see a slap on the wrist. Nothing.
Because they're probably scared that they're going to go to AEW and go and be a big star.
Who gives a shit?
AEW would not fucking touch this guy.
I reckon they probably would.
No. I bet you they wouldn't.
No.
As much as they try to keep this all-inclusive nature, as much as they try to make everybody feel comfortable or as comfortable as possible, knowing the things that he said, they have, Nyla Rose. We know how we all know how each other feels about that. We don't have to get into it. But when you have somebody like Nyla Rose on the roster, you ain't putting Lars Sullivan on the roster. When you're making somebody like Nyla Rose champion, you're not putting Lars Sullivan on the roster. That is.
But the thing that I don't understand that kind of throws me for a loop is that back in the days, and again, I keep going to back in the days, but in ECW, the Vic Grimes story when he got slapped in the face, when you had heat with the boys and you started talking shit to believe that your shits don't stink, you would have got your ass kicked in the ring. Look at the Perry Saturn when he beat up my friend Mike Bell, and then the APA beat the shit out of him, and then they gave him was it Moppy?
Yeah,
they buried that motherfucker, man. I mean, they buried him until he was just like, I mean, I'm not saying humble, but they will fucking at that time make you like go through shit to get your spot back. Triple H when the fucking hog match, because he went out there and fucking did the farewell with the Click, and then he started doing all that shit.
But this guy's not even getting punished. He's not getting anything.
That's what I'm saying, though. Back in the day, they used to punish you.
Exactly, because you know what would happen in today's society, Angel? That's considered bullying.
Fuck bullying.
Instead of paying your dues, I believe bullying should not happen. But in today's society, that's what that would be classified as. It'd be bullying. Like a rib could be considered bullying, and you've seen, former performers come out and speak out about that shit from years prior
But
about some
bullying,
top names. But you know what I mean? To them, it was a rib, but to these
well,
other people was bullying, and that's where I think the line can't be drawn in this day and age. Is how far is too far?
well, and again,
How-
I'm not saying like fuck bullying. I mean like I'm in the wrestling world. I'm saying fuck bullying because that's how you get guys to fly straight. You know, the Mark Henry was it the Mark Henry shitting in his Subway sandwich joke because he was acting like a dick? Got him
Yeah.
straight. You do things to make the person go, dude, you need to get your act right. And that's the thing. And then there was guys who learned from their lessons, and there's guys who's like, man, I need to be, I'm going to lose my spot. I'm getting heat with the boys because, you're with them all the time. So
Brother,
I don't know
I agree with you. I agree with you. But I'm saying in today's society, they couldn't get away with it. Look what happened to Bill DeMott. He was the fucking head coach down there. They sacked him for bullying. I don't know all the details on that. But like when you went to wrestling training, Angel, were you bullied?
fuck
Fuck off, you were, bro.
When I went training?
You were training. Were you pushed or were you bullied?
I was beat the shit out. The first thing, look, okay, I wasn't bullied. I was paying my dues, and also remember, I thought wrestling was fake entertainment, and that's when Bill DeMott, Big Sweet William at the time, Bill DeMott, Big Vito, Damien Demento, they beat the brain. I was bleeding. I mean, I had a bruised lung. Devon bruised my lung when I first started. That because I wasn't respecting the business. It's called respecting the business because these guys are laying the path for me for the next generation. And if I'm not respecting them, then I'm spitting in their face. And that's why you used to get your ass kicked. Remember the Pepsi challenge, all that stuff. So I just think I don't understand why Lars is not being held accountable. That's all I'm saying.
So, I'm just scrolling through. I'm just scrolling through some of the tweets that are not tweets, but the things that he's posted on the message board of this bodybuilder.com, and a lot. There's some rough stuff in here, guys. So one is, and it starts out, it's all wrong, but it gets a lot worse.
Can we just say before you start, Kevin, this is not the words of any of us. This is just reading a transcript.
Is it
Absolutely.
something you could put up on the screen or something? I mean, if not, that's cool.
No, I can, but I can't single out the messages by themselves.
Gotcha.
So it'll be an
all good.
entire screen of like 5 or 6 different messages.
No,
But-
gotcha.
So he went under the screen name disenfranchised. One of the comments and this is been proven this was under his real name. This was under his real name back in 2007. Some of the comments were such as, "Oh, so you're black? No wonder all you can do is copy and paste." He does another comment about black stereotypes, and he says, "No, it's not racist. It is a fact. The black race robs more than anybody and commits more crime than any other race. This isn't racism or stereotypes. It's just a fact." He goes on to say, "I don't understand why I can't relate to Naomi." He calls Jeff Hardy a untalented junkie. And I'm just looking for a few more because there were some really bad ones in here. And I'm not going to read the worst ones just because it's sickening to even say this kind of stuff.
You just
But
want to put them over.
if anybody wants to look at them, just Google search Lars Sullivan racist tweets. They're everywhere.
And man, the fact that he's done all this shit, and put this way, it came out years prior, like years after, and there's no excuse for what he wrote.
But you
And
know what's
like I
funny? Go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
But like I said, people that go and post comments in these sort of forums and shit, they're just the lowest fucking scumbags on earth, and that just proves that he is a fucking scumbag. But man, dude, he's made no public apology about this.
So
And
here's
I
one.
agree with what Kevin said. He's not sorry.
No, not at all. Especially when you tweet stuff like this. Some black people want to take advantage of their great-grandparents' misfortunes, and they want a piece of the pity pie instead of some personal responsibility. They choose to attack the white man and say we must take care of them financially. Black Panther Party, these guys are the umpire of racist clowns. When immigrants hear that we are the land of the free, they automatically assume that it means free stuff. This is a clear political divide among the races. The Democrats essentially bribing minorities to vote for them to win elections. Let that sink in for a minute.
Don't. Pierce is already short enough. Don't let him sink too far.
Fuck that guy. Now, I'm going to go on a little bit of a soapbox here. And
well, before you do, Kevin, I just want to say before I forget, you know what's so weird about it? In today's society, when you go to a regular job, a corporate job, they always ask about your social media. Please put down your social media because they want to look at stuff, to see if you say anything that's disrespectful, anything that's racial, so they could say, well, hey, we're family business, whatever. With WWE, with their floor full of lawyers and they have all this legal teams and stuff, I don't know why they don't have. I mean, I'm assuming they do have the social media that looks into your shit to make sure that something like this doesn't pop up. And then,
not deep enough, brother. Not deep enough.
Not deep enough. Anyway, Kevin, go ahead. I just want to say before I forgot.
This is going to be a bitter pill to swallow for some people to hear. But I'm going to say it anyway. Do I think that slavery and all that other stuff is thrown around way too frequently? Absolutely. However, I do think it is important that we know our history and know what happened, because if you don't acknowledge history, it is destined to repeat itself. So for him to sit here and say that everybody just wants to live off the misfortunes of their grandparents, I think is absolute bullshit. I think it is important to know what happened so many years ago. That way we don't repeat it. That way history doesn't repeat itself. Because Abraham Lincoln said it best himself. As long as one person is enslaved, none of us are free. And I truly believe that. So for him to target people because of certain things that their ancestors went through is absolute horseshit. There's a difference in educating somebody and bashing somebody. And he's not trying to educate anybody. He's not trying to contribute to the greater good of society, the greater good to somebody's education, whatever the case may be. He's just being a piece of shit. And we haven't even talked about the most recent things he's done with going after married women.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up.
And Kevin, you absolutely, I agree with you 100%. You learn from the history so you won't repeat it. I mean, that's why I don't judge about the Confederate flag or these statues being torn down. It's ridiculous that they're tearing down these statues. Again, I'm going off topic, but it just falls in that same category because these people who were racist back then, we learned from those mistakes and we learned that history.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I know what I said in the beginning can be taken many different ways. When I said that I do think it's thrown around too loosely. What I mean by that is there's real pain there. There's real emotion there.
Mm-hmm.
There's real stuff. If casual conversation disrespects the history behind it, and like we said, we have to learn from our past. We can't just shit all over and pretend it never happened.
Yeah. And I agree 100%. So, that's what I'm saying. I don't mind about the Confederate flag because that has history and it teaches us what happened back then and you learn from it. That's why I don't look at it like, oh, you racist. I'm like, that's your business. But anyway, back to the Lars case. The thing is going after married women, that was again, it's hard for me to say because I've done a lot of married women, but I'm keeping it real. But he just didn't learn his lesson.
And that's what happens to Angel when he admits to stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Hey, I'm a straight shooter, man. I was a piece of shit back then.
No, and that's the thing about this show is we hold ourselves accountable. That way we can hold others accountable.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, in the grand scheme of things, Lars Sullivan's probably going to live the rest of his life and never know who the hell we are. But our viewers know who we are, and we're going to tell them just how big a piece of shit he is.
Absolutely.
No, he'll know who we are. I'm make sure he'll know who the wrestling tragedy is.
Oh, he will. He will. But you know what the thing is,
I saw the messages. Were they distasteful?
Well,
Yeah, like he was. I was like, let me say, he was
I gotta
coming
hear
on. He was coming on a little strong. He didn't send dick pics, and she sent him a thirst trap photo, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then he sends like, "Hey, nice legs. Can you send me a booty pic?" And then she's like, "Oh,
Well,
how dare you?"
No,
You know what I
well,
mean?
he said, how much is your booty program? And then she's like, if it was no, and then he said, if I was a woman, I'd definitely heed your advice on booty sculpting. So he's fishing her in. He's kind of like, and then she's like,
He's trying to compliment her without actually coming out and saying,
yeah. So and then she's like, $50,
fucking creep.
and he goes, put it out to your female followings. And then of course she blocked him after that. I mean, after he said that.
No, she didn't block him. That
No, I mean, I'm looking at it. There's a part right here where it says you blocked this
yeah,
account.
because she's screenshot that afterwards.
Oh.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, I mean, like I said, he was just like building it up to see how she responds so he could work his magic or whatever. Yeah,
But in none of those messages, because like the final one, she said, "I told you that this is not acceptable, and I'm a married woman." In none of the messages I saw did she say that. And I'm not trying to discredit her in any way, and I'm not trying to discredit the situation in any way. I think he was just like, all right, this is my thought on it. There's two parts to it. He was trying to get a piece of us, and he thought his celebrity status was going to get him over the line. It didn't, so he kept pushing it, and he came on a little too strong. Second theory of that is, and Kevin, you're probably going to like this one, is he's doing it to prove to the world he's not gay, and she's working with him to put that shit out there. Because let's face it, it's not the fucking worst thing in the world.
Because
It's not like he sent her dick pics or a video of him jacking off.
As I'm analyzing this, I'm going off the Velveteen Dream story. If it was me, I wouldn't put myself out there, especially after what just happened with Velveteen Dream and the dick pics and the comments he made. So he's just being as subtle as possible, but there's a hidden line between those words. So he's just kind of like, okay, because if it comes back, they're going to say, hey, what's this all about? He goes, dude, it was just a normal conversation. I did not say anything derogatory, disrespectful. I just was appreciating the human.
Oh, he was fishing for sure.
Yeah. I was just complimenting her and stuff like that. But you could read between the lines that he was like, okay, let me just make sure I don't go over the edge, but I'm right there so she could get the hint of what I want.
Bro, I reckon the whole thing's a work. She's probably friends with him, for fuck's sake, and they set the whole thing up.
No, why?
Because the last thing that the world knew about him was he was exposed as being in a fucking porno getting his dick sucked by a dude.
That doesn't make you gay.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's probably now like going, I got to show the world I'm not gay, I'm straight, you know?
No, man, I would have.
Or WWE's behind it to make him look more like a killer and make him look more like
easy unsolved mysteries with your conspiracy theory. That's going too far left. The only reason I think is that, I don't think I just think he just said what he said because he just didn't want to cross that line, and he's just trying to, because any wrestler, I'm being honest, back in the days, you just keep your mouth shut and say, hopefully it would just go away. You didn't try to add more shit to make it more. You just keep your mouth shut and just let it go away. It will filter out.
Down.
Yeah.
And
just lay under the radar.
I don't necessarily think that he has to prove to the world he's not gay. This is, once again, I'm going to go and throw this out there. I do not care what your sexual orientation is, what you prefer, what side of the batter box you stand in. I wish you nothing but happiness in your life. Wherever you find that happiness, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
But for the sake of this conversation, I don't think Lars is gay. And just because you pop up in a gay porno, I don't think that makes you gay either. Now, hold on. Before you pop off that short little mouth, Piers, struggling to eat, can't pay your bills. Some guy says, hey, take this right in the mouth. I'll pay every bill for the rest of your life. If you were starving on the verge of death, and I'm not saying he was, but I'm just using this as an example. There's not a person alive who wouldn't do it.
Has a lot of amino acids and protein.
Make you gay.
keep you alive. Now Pierce is thinking like, man, if I suck a kangaroo's dick. I'll make a pretty good coin.
But you know what? Maybe it was just, he was a young guy. Maybe he was questioning his own sexuality, and this was a way of him testing the waters.
Maybe. I mean, we see it all
One
the
day
time
at band
when people go away to college or whatever. They experiment with each other and try to see where they fit in the world. This
Dude,
could have been something very
yeah,
similar
and
to that,
I don't
but
care,
it
man.
doesn't
Everybody,
matter.
experiments and all that stuff. It's fine. I don't judge. I don't care what you do. The fact is, he needed to lay under the radar. If he did what he did to put food in his stomach, yeah, dude, do you, man? That's your business. But if you knew in your brain that, like, okay, knowing the wrestling business, if it came out, just keep your mouth shut, man. Don't bring it up. Just keep your mouth shut and lay under the radar.
To sit there and perform in 2 or more adult films of the gay category, and then you bash people and say homophobic slurs, that's the same thing as working for WWE and bashing professional wrestling.
Yeah, look, I agree. And I just want to say, like, my comment earlier saying Lars trying to hide the fact that he's gay, or they're trying to hide that fact. That's not me making an anti-gay.
Here he goes backpedaling again.
No, I don't make anti-gay comments or anything like that. But what I meant by that statement was, the old school style of wrestling, there was a reason why Pat Patterson never came out. There was a reason why a lot of pro wrestlers didn't come out.
But that's in the 70s. The 70s was different.
I understand that. But also
they knew.
But that's the thing. And the whole concept of pro wrestling is to make these guys look the toughest as possible. And I think that's probably the reason why they've probably just done a couple of things to set up Lars. I just don't think anything.
You saying gay people can't be tough and be pushing in it?
No,
I'm just fucking.
I'm not fucking saying that at all. You fuck.
Backpedal.
No,
back.
No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, I think, to me, honestly, it just looks like the whole thing's a fucking work.
Yeah, I mean, what? No, that fucking hit me. Like, I was like, what? No, man. What part is a work? Which part?
The thing with the chick. The thing with the chick. The yoga instructor.
I don't think it is.
Nah, man. I don't think it is either. I don't think it is.
Why
doesn't have enough meat.
Why would she see the need to fucking expose that then?
I do think she needs to come forth with messages of some kind where she told Lars, hey, I'm married. This is strictly a business relationship, and that is it. If that conversation happened over the phone or in person, obviously there's no way to prove that. But I think if there is some way to prove through Messenger or text message or wherever they communicated from, I think if she has the ability to prove that, then she should. Because then it really, it's a big ace in her pocket to say, look, I told this piece of shit I was married. I told him this was strictly business. I told him that, that's all this is going to be, and he kept pursuing. Then you start to put a whole different light on this, because I understand where Pierce is coming from. I just don't agree with it. I don't think it was a work. I think this is Lars not really giving a shit about anybody but himself, walking around like he's, God's gift to the world, and everybody should bow down and suck his asshole. Not going to happen. He's a piece of shit.
Did you do that on camera?
But the thing is, okay, look. If he was going to do some type of thing to make himself look mucho macho, he would have done something bigger than just a fucking text. I mean, due to the Halloween season, just because he's a fucking ass goblin doesn't mean I mean, the guy.
Kevin, hit the button. Hit the button.
but the thing is, he would have done something more, like be in a room full of chicks, or I would have went balls to the wall, no pun intended, to put myself out there with a bunch of girls, being the mucho macho, not just a fucking text message. I don't have enough meat.
Have another porno come out with Lars and like 5 chicks.
Yeah, some stupid shit like that. But that's just something like like the guy with the salt. It's just that's just bullshit. It's just a little taste. That don't make sense. I don't think it's a work.
I just don't understand why you have guys like
Ricochet.
Kevin Owens. Ricochet is another good one. Cedric Alexander's starting to get a little bit of a push with the Hurt Business. Mustafa Ali. Guys who are good, decent people. We've never really heard anything bad about them. Their work is solid, but they're not getting pushed. They're being underutilized. Well, Ali is now getting TV time and stuff like that, but you have guys that you could literally build your company around, that could be the face of your company, that will bring nothing but respect and dignity to the WWE.
And profit.
You go, you know what? I don't want to feature guys like Kevin Owens, who has a strong body of work, who goes out every night and gives it everything he has, does everything we ask him to do, all this other stuff. Instead of going with him, we're going to go with the guy who likes to fuck kids, and we're going to go with the guy who bashes every race.
And see, that's the thing. And again, I mean, like using Ricochet as an example, I mean, like you said, they have a body of talent that they don't utilize in the WWE. And like Ricochet, I'm a huge mark for Ricochet, especially when I saw Adam Cole give him that super kick when he did the moonsault.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That would have made, dude, he's heavyweight caliber to me, or whatever.
Between that and the front flip he did from inside the ring to the floor.
In front of Everteen Dream, like he stood in front of him. That one?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dude, but they don't do that. They want to fucking push Lars Sullivan to, who again, I don't see any talent. He's just a muscle that don't have no type of skill.
Between Lars Sullivan and the Velveteen Dream, it brings a whole new meaning to whose dick I gotta suck to get a job around here.
It's probably Pat Patterson.
Think of the gold, Braun. Think of the gold.
Hit the marrow, brother. Hit the marrow.
I'm gonna make you famous.
Make you famous. You know, but I mean, like I said, I don't get it, man. I can sit here and just chip my teeth about Lars Sullivan, but when you look at the evidence and his body of work, I just don't see why they're holding him. They're just holding him around. It's not worthy. He's not worth it.
I just think as a publicly traded company, where you have major sponsors who you rely on to make your show happen, who you rely on to pay the bills, pay your talent, all this other good, like we saw a few years ago when Snickers was going to pull out. You know, not that Lars Sullivan ever did, but anyway.
Pull out my Snickers, baby.
But, you know, I think WWE really needs to start holding people accountable more for the things that they do, because, yeah, it's just a conversation today, but what happens tomorrow when they lose 4 of their biggest sponsors because you have a guy who, especially in Piers, this may be a little bit lost on you because you're not here in America, but Angel, you see the things that are going on every day ever since the George Floyd incident happened.
Yeah.
When you have somebody who you are pushing, making these comments, making these just disgusting remarks about people, sooner or later, one of these sponsors is going to go, we don't want to be a part of that shit. And now you're losing money.
But that's the thing. I mean, just like you bringing up the Snickers thing and about the Fabulous Moolah, and then you could definitely watch it in our episodes on Wrestling with Tragedy, but to get up to date on it. But the thing is that, yeah, the woman's dead. And all of a sudden, she's being held accountable for things that are just these stories. And then they pull her out because Snickers is like, hey, we don't want to fuck with her.
And see, that's the fucking problem. That is the problem. You are perfectly okay with, standing up and speaking out against the Fabulous Moolah after she's dead and gone. These people are still alive.
Yeah.
These people are still here to answer for the things they've done. These people are still here to defend themselves or answer for what they've done instead of waiting for them to pass away. And look, I don't wish death on anybody, but instead of waiting for these people to pass away and then try to hold them accountable, do it right now. Do it right now when they can either, one, defend themselves and prove to people like, hey, I'm not that person, which is going to be hard for both these guys to do, even though we're just talking about Lars right now. But no, it's throughout history. It happens time and time and time again. Let's wait for the person to die, and then let's talk shit about them. No, talk right now. Bring this stuff up right now. Have these conversations right now, and then make that decision whether, they did these things they're being accused of, or we wish you the best in your future endeavors. Honestly, I think it needs to be the second one for both these people.
I just think Velveteen Dream, Lars are in the Vince McMahon ass kissing club, and and they just stick.
They're in the ass kissing club if Vince turned around.
True, I agree. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I just think Lars Sullivan should go. I just think that, and usually 9 out of 10, I can look at something and go, you know what, I could state my case to defend the guy, and say, well, this is just it is what it is type of story. But the guys keep digging
Vince
a bigger
probably
hole.
took one look at Lars's movies and said, "Oh, it's such good shit."
No pun intended. You know, he could have been the next Gold Dust. He could, you know.
But that's the thing, dude. Like, in all reality, WWE doesn't need Lars Sullivan. Like, he
But
doesn't bring a great deal to the table, and I think the only reason that guys have kept their job is because they're worried that, you know, guys like Lars, a big dude, could be a potential big player somewhere else, and that's probably.
But the funny thing, like you said, you know, the guy. I don't see why they're keeping him. Like guys, like I said, Ricochet, they need to keep. What was it? Gulak, they need to keep.
Drew Gulak, yeah.
Yeah, when they be letting people go like, hey, I want my release, okay. And you know the guy's a hell of a talent. But then this piece of shit, you know, with his fucking what was the guy from the Goonies? Chunk, you know, and stuff. He's just looking all.
Well, I mean, look at Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, there were a lot of people who asked for their release. There were a lot of people who waited for their contracts to expire. There were a lot of people who just weren't happy with the WWE. You look at Impact Wrestling, Eric Young, world champion. The Good Brothers just had an amazing tag team title match at their last pay-per-view. Ever since the 90-day no-compete clause was up, when they released all these people have left and added such value to these companies they've gone to. You know, we talk about Eric Young with Impact, the Good Brothers with Impact. James Storm just popped up in Impact. I know he was in NWA, but and then you have guys like The Revival or FTR and Rusev or Miro going over to AEW, and they're really adding value to these companies. You had that the whole time. You had these people who can put on an amazing show. Just the talent they let go alone can run one of the best WrestleManias we've ever seen in our lifetime.
But that's the same. Yeah, but that's the same thing with Al Snow.
But
when
they choose to keep these kitty touchers and fucking racist pieces of shit.
And I'm just using that. So remember when he was doing Leaf Cassidy, he was doing the ninja gimmick, he was doing all the other stuff. As soon as he goes to ECW and becomes Al Snow with head, and he's over, then they bring him
straight back up there, bro. Exactly.
Yeah, you know, but you had him all along. You didn't have to let him go. All you had to do is just use his talent. The guy's a hell of a talent, and they just let him go until he built up his name somewhere else. And that's what they do. EC3 was a drizzling, not saying the drizzling of shits when he was in WWE, but they didn't utilize
Derek Bateman.
That
When he was Derek
yeah,
Bateman.
Oh,
I want to just think about this for 1 second. WWE had MJF.
Well, he wasn't under contract.
Could have been.
Yeah, but
You mean to
also-
tell me that they have? You mean to tell me that they have people who can find talent like a needle in a haystack, and you have a guy like MJF, and you can't tell me he didn't have tryouts. You can't tell me that he didn't show people what he can do. In order to be in that position to even be a security guard, or have like a one-off thing, you have to, you know, show them something to even get that phone call.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me they passed on him, but they're keeping Lars Sullivan? MJF is going to put AEW on the map for the next 10 years. Just a fact.
Yeah, I mean, but what does that mean? You know, what does that mean now for Lars and getting us back on him after this recent, you know, thing that's come out with him about the text and everything else that's gone through? You know, like I said, I made my statement. I think
Unfortunately, nothing's gonna happen.
I think this is all a setup. I think this is all a setup by either him or someone else. But regardless of it, I think they were working together.
Unfortunately, nothing's going to happen. You know why? Because people are still going to spend their $9.99 a month on the network. People are still going to, you know, request to be in the Thunderdome. People are still going to buy tickets when fans are allowed back. People are still going to tune in every Monday, fucking Wednesday, Friday, Sunday when pay-per-views are on. People are still going to watch. Unfortunately, that's still going to happen. And the only way to inspire change is to be that change. If we all, you know, unsubscribe to the WWE Network, stopped watching, and I know that's never going to happen, but that's what it's going to take for stuff to change. They're going to have to show that this is impacting their company. It's never going to happen. People are hooked. I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I'm not canceling my subscription. I'm still watching every week. I mean, hell, aside from this, I run a wrestling podcast. I need to know what's going on. I need to know what I'm talking about. But until people start protesting WWE or stop watching it or making this very known that, hey, we're not okay with this. You mean to tell me that your target demographic is the younger demographic, the teenagers, the children, and stuff like that, and the two people you want leading the forefront are Velveteen Dream and Lars Sullivan? Go fuck yourself, because they're probably going to do it too.
But what's funny is that he's burying himself with the talent as well, especially with the Jeff Hardys and Cedric Alexander, New Day, and all that stuff, saying all those comments. That fool is probably just eating by himself at the at the banquet hall.
It's awfully funny. He's targeting people who've done way more than he's ever going to do. No, Lars Sullivan ain't going to be the next 16-time world champion. Lars Sullivan ain't going to be the next 10-time world champion. So to take shots at the New Day and Jeff Hardy, go fuck yourself.
But did you see the tweet that Biggie put out?
No.
Which one?
So Biggie put out a tweet about it, and he goes, pretty much like, this guy has to come back and work in a company that's filled with minorities. That he's the one that has to live with this now. He has to know that when he walks through that door, everyone looks at him and thinks he's a bigot. And that's like.
You mean while he's cashing those $1,000 checks and making $1 million and living in nice houses and driving fancy cars and all that other stuff? Motherfucker needs to be unemployed.
He needs, like I said, he needs to, like, just like in any type of sport, man, he needs to be sent to the minors, man. He needs to be like held accountable and be like, yo, you're gonna go back to, and I'm not saying that NXT is bad, but I'm just saying just kick him out.
Don't even send him back to NXT. Send him back to the bingo halls.
Hey, I worked at a bingo.
That's exactly my point.
I agree with you. I think that he's done too much, and too much has come out about him. And for a publicly traded company that cares so much about their image, to have people like him associated with the business that has been a proven racist, a proven homophobe, and saying crucial, horrible things about mental illness. To me, this guy, he's done his dash. It's time to pack your bag, son, and get the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the guy is worthless. It's just he needs to go.
Gentlemen, we are reaching the 1 hour mark, and in essence, or in hopes of not beating a dead horse, final thoughts on Lars Sullivan. Let's start with Piers.
Train wreck. Just a fucking train wreck. Like, he had all the tools, all the things that, Vince has been proven to love in a performer. Big dude, very well spoken, very well educated, very articulate guy. He did have something that could be potentially, a diamond in a piece of coal. But, there's too much shit that's come out about this guy. And there's guys in the past that were released for a lot less, that had a lot more talent. I think it's time for him to fuck off.
I agree with him. I just think the guy doesn't have any talent to even say that we got to keep him. This is our gravy train with biscuit wheels. We have to not let him go. The guy is a worthless piece of shit. He needs to be held accountable for his action, because, again, if it was me back in the days starting drama in the locker room, me doing things that was disrespectful to the company, me doing things to get heat with the boys, I would have been out the door a long time ago. Now all of a sudden, it's like one of those, like, leave him alone, don't fuck with him, mentality. Like, I just don't see it.
Let's just try and forget about it.
Yeah, it's just almost like being in prison where, like, yo, leave that chomo alone, because you get in trouble if you bother him. You're the one that gets in trouble, and he's the one that's getting away with it. Again, a worthless piece of shit. I think Kevin should take down his Lars poster and throw it in the garbage. And, man, fuck him. Fuck him.
Fuck him.
No, don't say that. Really?
So, everybody, this has been Wrestling with Tragedy, episode 29. Lars Sullivan. I'm sure we're not done talking about this.
He'll come up with something else.
The old saying goes, a tiger can never change its stripes. I'm sure at some point we'll be talking about Lars again. I hope not. I hope he learns his lesson. I hope the sensitivity training that he has been sent to or not sent to is helping in some kind of way. Yeah, exactly.
He'll come up with something.
So I hope he can change, but I don't think he's going to. These seem to be very deep-seated issues with Lars Sullivan.
Yeah.
These seem to be very... They're just not going away. And this won't be the last time we have to cover Lars Sullivan. So with that said, I do want to take one final second to thank our amazing sponsors. First, starting with Vince Russo and the Vince Russo brand. Special shout-outs to Stevie Richards and Ben Hameen for everything they do for the show. Thank you for the faith you guys put in us and giving us a platform to really show what we can do. Also, A-Rock Designs. Like I said, if you want to place any custom orders, we do hats, shirts, hoodies, keychains, just about anything you need. Go to A-Rock Designs, spelled just like this, on Facebook, and place your orders with Ashley Rodriguez. And if you're having trouble finding it, reach out to one of us, and we can point you in the right direction. Huge shout-out to Signal Studios and the Cicadas Band for giving us our amazing entry music, and Angel M. Pierce's favorite.
Five championship belts.
With that being said, guys, we will see you next week with another episode. And this one is going to be very fun to talk about, considering we're 3 podcasters. And, yeah, we're going to have fun with the next one. So we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.